Okay, so when you think Italy, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it like the noise of a busy market? Or maybe those amazing ancient ruins?
Or maybe just that perfect coffee smell, right? We all have these images, the pizza, the pasta, the fashion fast cars.
That whole Bella Italia idea,
Yeah.
sun-drenched everything.
Yeah.
But what's really going on behind those postcard scenes?
That's exactly what we're digging into today. We've gone through a whole load of sources, articles, transcripts, bits of research.
And the mission here is to kind of cut through those stereotypes, yeah, to get to the heart of Italian culture and lifestyle, at least as it's described in this material.
Exactly. We want to go beyond just the surface stuff. See what makes it tick, find the core elements, maybe even, I don't know, some surprising things.
Or maybe even some ideas you could, bring into your own life. Think of this as our attempt to understand the Italy that emerges from these sources. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first things first. What did the sources say about, well, the absolute foundation of Italian society? Seems pretty clear.
Oh, yeah. Family. It came up again and again. It's described as more than just important. It's like the core structure, the whole social operating system almost.
Right.
The sources really emphasize it goes way beyond just mom, dad, kids. You often see multiple generations living close by or even together.
And that respect for elders.
Exactly. A deep respect. They're seen as, the keepers of tradition, the ones with the wisdom, and the way they keep those bonds strong.
Meals, right. Always meals.
Always meals, regular family get-togethers, almost always centered around food. It's fundamental.
I thought it was interesting how the sources mentioned friends often get pulled into that family circle too.
Yes, that's a really key point. The whole idea of la familia seems quite fluid in that sense. It really stretches to include close friends, offering that same kind of belonging and support. It's a wider net.
Which seems to lead naturally into that strong sense of community we hear about.
Absolutely. It flows right into it. Community is just vital. The sources describe Italians as, well, very sociable, expressive people, genuinely welcoming.
Hospitality being a big thing.
A huge thing. And conversation isn't just, small talk. It's valued. It happens everywhere out in the piazza, in cafes, and especially during those really long, relaxed dinners.
So it really sounds like relationships.
Yeah.
They're the top priority.
Yeah.
Over almost everything else.
That's definitely a strong impression from the sources. One actually pointed out that when it comes to, say, getting things done, Italians often lean on their friends, their family, their networks, sometimes even putting those connections ahead of strict deadlines. It just shows how deeply embedded relationships are in how things work.
And then there's that other layer alongside the national identity, that really fierce local pride. Campanilismo.
Yes. That loyalty to your own bell tower, your town, your region, the sources highlight how significant this is. Every area celebrates its own unique history, its dialect, its food, its festivals.
Creates amazing diversity.
Incredible diversity, yeah.
Yeah.
But also that sort of friendly rivalry between places. It's quite charming, actually.
So for anyone listening, this focus on really close bonds, family, friends, community, that it feels like a core takeaway from all this material.
Definitely. A real cornerstone.
Okay, let's shift to something that feels like, well, the Italian dream for a lot of us outside Italy. La dolce vita. The sweet life. How did the sources talk about that?
They frame it as a real philosophy, about consciously enjoying life's pleasures. And a big part of that is dolce far niente.
The sweetness of doing nothing.
Exactly. Which isn't about laziness. It's about intentionally balancing work with leisure, taking time to rest, to socialize, just to appreciate the moment without feeling like you have to be productive constantly.
How does that actually show up in day-to-day life, like in the workplace?
Well, it's fascinating. The sources point to things like the standard work week being shorter, typically around 36 to 40 hours. Overtime is regulated.
And the holidays?
Generous. We're talking at least 4 weeks of paid leave, plus about 12 public holidays. And then there's Ferragosto in August.
Ah, yes, when everything just stops.
Pretty much. Large parts of the country genuinely seem to shut down for a proper summer break. It's expected.
And that famous midday break, the riposo, is that still a big thing?
Yes, the riposo. Sources say many businesses, especially smaller shops, still close for a long break. Usually like 1 p.m. to maybe 3:30 p.m.
Time to go home for lunch.
Exactly. A proper leisurely lunch, often with family, maybe a rest. It's just built into the daily rhythm. Not everywhere, maybe, but still common.
I saw one statistic in the sources that really made me stop and think about how Italians actually spend their time.
Oh, I know the one you mean. Yeah. One source noted that full-time workers in Italy dedicate, on average, about 16.5 hours a day to personal care and leisure,
16.5 hours.
which is apparently the highest among all OECD countries. It just hammers home how much focus there is culturally on well-being and downtime.
Does that vary much across the country, though? Is it the same everywhere?
The sources suggest it can. Milan, for instance, is sometimes described as having a more intense work culture, maybe a bit closer to other big global cities, whereas smaller towns, and perhaps especially in the South, might embrace that more relaxed pace even more strongly.
But overall, this idea of actively building enjoyment and leisure into life, not just squeezing it in,
Yeah,
that feels like a really powerful theme from the sources.
it really does. A conscious choice.
All right, let's get to the topic everyone loves.
Yeah.
Food. It's impossible to talk about Italy without it. The sources make it clear it's way more than just fuel.
Oh, absolutely. Food is portrayed as just central. It's a ritual. It's what brings people together. It's a celebration of life, really. Meals are meant to be slow, savored, shared.
Connection is key.
Connection as much as consumption, definitely.
So what did the sources say makes Italian food? Italian food. What are the key elements?
A huge focus is on fresh, local, seasonal ingredients. That comes through really strongly. Italians often shop daily for what they're going to cook that day.
Really? Daily?
Yeah, there's this belief it just tastes better and it connects you to the land, to what's in season right now. Simplicity is also prized, letting really good quality ingredients speak for themselves.
And the regional differences must be massive.
Oh, huge. Reflecting the different climates, what grows where. The sources talk about this a lot. Creamy polenta, rich risottos, maybe more in the north.
While the South has all those amazing tomatoes and olive oil for pasta sauces.
Exactly. And the range mentioned is vast pasta, risotto, soups, eggplant dishes, sausages, salads, and of course, the desserts, cake, gelato.
Can't forget gelato.
Yeah.
Are there specific daily rituals around food?
Definitely. The coffee ritual is a big one, usually a quick espresso, often standing at a bar. It's a little social moment punctuating the day.
And the aperitivo.
Yes, that pre-dinner tradition. It's all about winding down, connecting with friends over a drink and some small snacks before the main meal. Another social anchor.
One source really dug into the Mediterranean diet, but framed it as something bigger than just food rules.
Yeah, it was presented much more holistically, as a lifestyle, really. It emphasizes those fresh, local ingredients, the KM0 idea, 0 kilometers.
Supporting local producers.
Right, and it naturally encourages social connection because meals are shared. It celebrates regional identity through specific dishes. And then there are the health links mentioned in the sources.
Lower rates of chronic diseases, longer life expectancy.
Exactly. Plus, aspects of sustainability and respecting nature were tied into it as well.
Okay, but here's the thing that puzzles people, and the sources touched on it. Italians eat pizza, they eat pasta.
Huh.
Yet the sources mention higher life expectancy, lower obesity rates than places like the U.S. How is that explained?
It's a really interesting point raised in the material, this apparent paradox. While carbs are definitely part of the diet, the overall Mediterranean pattern is heavy on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, olive oil.
Less red meat, more fish.
Right. But crucially, one source put a lot of weight on food quality in Italy as a major factor.
Food quality, how so?
Well, the source mentioned things like the type of wheat used often being less processed, maybe lower in gluten, using more ancient grains compared to some other places, and farming practices using fewer pesticides. Apparently, over 70 pesticides banned in Europe are still allowed in the U.S., according to the source. Italy also bans GMOs, so the argument is the food itself might be higher quality, more nutrient-dense.
So it's not just what they eat, but how it's produced.
Yeah.
How it's prepared. The whole lifestyle around it.
Precisely. The sources suggest it's a combination. The quality of the ingredients, maybe portion sizes being different, eating mindfully, slowly, socially.
Less snacking, maybe.
Less snacking, yeah. And just generally more natural movement built into daily life. One source really contrasted this with what it called the standard American diet, or the reliance on convenience, processed foods, inflammatory ingredients.
It definitely makes you rethink what healthy eating actually involves. It's not just about macros.
Not at all. It's the whole picture.
Okay, shifting from food to, well, aesthetics. Italy and art, beauty. They're inseparable, right? How does this play out in the culture according to the sources?
There's this incredibly deep, pervasive connection described to art, architecture, music. It's not just locked away in museums. It's in the streets, the buildings, everyday objects even.
There's just an appreciation for beauty.
A real, palpable appreciation for beauty in all its forms, from Michelangelo to, how elegantly a table is set or how someone dresses.
Which brings us to la bella figura. That seems key here.
Yes, it's mentioned as a really fundamental principle, making a good impression. And that's not just about how you look, it's manners, behavior, how you carry yourself, the whole package.
And fashion, obviously, is a huge piece of this Italian identity puzzle.
Oh, massive. Italy is a global fashion capital, known for elegance, amazing quality, craftsmanship, but also that ability to blend tradition with really modern styles. Milan leads the way, hosting those big fashion weeks.
One source gave a pretty detailed history of Italian fashion. It was fascinating.
Yeah, it traced the roots way back, Middle Ages, Renaissance, influenced by powerful forces like the Catholic Church, commissioning these incredible vestments.
Fostering textile skills.
Right, exactly. And the courts, too. With the booming textile trade Venetian silks, Florentine wool's fashion became a major way to show status. And that's where sprezzatura comes in.
That effortless elegance thing?
That artful way of looking stylish without seeming like you tried too hard. Even Renaissance art, the source noted, used fashion like expensive black dye to signal wealth.
So how did it go from that to the global industry we see now?
Well, after some early 20th century attempts to create a distinct Italian style away from French dominance, the big shift described was post-World War II. Fashion became part of Italy's economic recovery, the boom.
Yikes.
Key events in Florence in the early 50s were highlighted, where designers like Pucci and Valentino showed their work to American buyers. That's seen as the birth of modern Italian fashion on the world stage.
How did it stand out?
By focusing on accessibility, maybe compared to French couture, presenting it as simple fashion through art, really emphasizing quality and embodying that sprezzatura.
And cinema played a role, too.
A huge role, according to the sources. Films like Roman Holiday and especially Fellini's La Dolce Vita in '59. They basically cemented this image of Italian glamour and style as something desirable worldwide.
Linking the clothes to the lifestyle.
Precisely. Later, the industry focus shifted more towards Milan, the rise of logo culture, Armani, Versace, Dolce & Gabbana.
So the sources basically conclude that Italian fashion isn't just selling clothes, it's selling.
An aspirational lifestyle, yeah. It's presented as this successful blend of design, manufacturing, business savvy, and that artistic approach.
Okay, let's get practical for a minute. What about navigating daily life? The sources mentioned some unspoken rules, some day-to-day realities.
Yeah, there were some interesting little details. Greetings, for example. They're important, but maybe more formal than just a casual, hi, how are you, unless you know the person well.
So, buongiorno, buonasera.
Right. Using those when you walk into a shop or leave or deal with anyone in service, that's expected. Ciao is more for friends or younger people, and acknowledging the person behind the counter when you enter a small place is key.
And patience. Sounds like you might need it sometimes.
Yes. The sources do mention that waiting can be part of the deal. It often links back to that focus on relationships. Interactions take the time they take. Queues might not be orderly lines, more like clusters.
Right.
And in restaurants, crucially, you generally have to ask for the bill. They won't rush you out. Showing impatience can be seen as quite rude.
But flattery might work.
Apparently. Appealing for help, a bit of charm. The sources suggest that can sometimes be effective in navigating things.
What about, like, eating or drinking on the street?
Generally not done, according to the sources. You wouldn't typically see someone walking along, munching a sandwich, or sipping a takeaway coffee.
But gelato's okay.
Gelato is the exception. That you absolutely can enjoy while strolling. But taking restaurant leftovers home, especially pizza, also not common. It gets soggy, apparently.
And how you dress day to day.
Important. The sources stress that Italians tend to look presentable when they go out, even just for errands. Smart casual is the general vibe.
No shorts and flip-flops unless you're at the beach.
Pretty much. Long pants are usually preferred. It's all part of that bella figura, appearance matters.
These little details really give you a sense of the rhythm, the expectations.
They do. It's the everyday stuff.
Now, we should acknowledge that one of the sources did delve into some more contemporary, complex societal issues. It's important we touch on these points as they were presented in the material we looked at.
Yes, that source brought up some challenges. Regarding employment, it mentioned age discrimination in job ads being a problem, noting that CVs often require your age and even a photo.
Right.
It also discussed conoscenza, the idea, from this source's perspective, that knowing the right people, having connections through friends or family, can sometimes be really important for getting a job, maybe contrasting with purely professional networking.
And it addressed LGBTQ+ rights as well.
It did. According to that source, civil partnerships are recognized, similar to much of Europe. However, it stated that adoption and surrogacy aren't available options currently.
Okay.
It also raised the point about a perceived lack of specific laws targeting discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. The source offered some perspectives on why that might be, mentioning political factors and potential influence from Catholic groups, and noted differing views within Italy on the definition of family itself.
And the topic of racism was also discussed in that source.
Yes, it framed it as a difficult subject. This particular source linked instances of racism to what it termed ignorance, and it highlighted a potential role of news media and politicians in creating stereotypes, specifically mentioning the practice of emphasizing a criminal's nationality without necessarily balancing the facts. It suggested that messaging, which focuses on economic struggles while also highlighting support provided to immigrants, could, in its view, contribute to prejudice. The source also put forward its perspective that historically, some employers might have favored immigrants due to perceived tax advantages. Again, this is recounting the perspective presented in that specific source.
Understood. It's important to be aware of these different facets and complexities that were part of the overall picture presented in the materials we reviewed.
Absolutely, it adds layers to the understanding.
So we've really covered a lot of ground today, a deep dive into the richness of Italian culture and lifestyle as presented in these sources, from family and food being so central.
To the art, the fashion, that whole philosophy of la dolce vita, we've seen how traditions are really woven into the fabric of daily life.
How food is so much more than eating, it's connection, it's ritual.
How beauty and style are genuinely appreciated, and that cultural emphasis on balancing work with actually enjoying life.
And we also touched briefly on some of those contemporary societal complexities mentioned in the source material.
It really seems Italy's unique character, based on this, lies in that blend, history, tradition, passion, and this embrace of simple pleasures.
So thinking about everything we've discussed, the slow meals, making time for leisure, those deep community ties, even the sweetness of doing nothing.
It really poses a question for you listening. In your own life, which might be busy, maybe fast-paced, how could you realistically, genuinely bring in just one small element of this Italian approach to find a bit more connection, maybe more pleasure, or just a little more balance? Something to think about.